Baby, can't you hear my call? I can't stand.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Sims. Welcome to another edition of the Hey Now podcast, where we explore pivotal moments that have shaped the most successful careers in sports and entertainment. Alongside me is my sons, Jarrett and Jordan, and today's guest, Ken Griffey Jr., Baseball Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players ever, 630 home runs, and so many other contributions to the great game of baseball. But our first pitch today, we're going to focus, take a little meandering into NIL transfer portal, UNLV. UNLV had a quarterback, their QB1, Matthew Sluka, and a running back, Michael Allen. They're having, if you will, contracts disputes. They're not, the money is not what
they were
was
promised
to them. And Jarrett, yeah, and that the promise not delivered. Both of those guys are walking from UNLV's football team. We're in a new age. Coach K says it's pros, and we need a new model.
Money can change a lot of things, good and bad. Basically, it's a whole new world in college athletics, and it kind of was a bomb on college athletics. The NCAA has not been prepared for a lot of things, and it wasn't prepared for this. So all of this has not been resolved yet. What needs to happen is there needs to be a new model for college athletics, whether it is the NCAA or part of it. The model is being hopefully built now or talked about, but as a result of this, it's kind of the Wild West. Like in every pro sport, there's complete transparency in contracts, what people make, luxury taxes, and everything. In college athletics, there's no transparency. It's really a kind of a crazy time for everyone. It's basically, they're pros now, you know? I mean, for anyone not to say that is ridiculous.
Professionals acting like it's anything other than that is just not living in reality. And the NIL changes and the transfer portal have upended, like you said, have changed everything. We're living in a new world. And all this really is, it's a contract dispute between two parties. Happens every day in America. And so now we've got youth athletes, amateur athletes who are now pros, are professionals in America, and go get your money. There's half the people saying that. The other half is saying that these guys quit on their team. And it's just quite clear that, when you see a contract dispute in the NFL, the teammates, they support when one of their guys goes and gets paid because they know when it's time for them to get their contract, well, look, the market's been reset, so I can get more money. And, I can't imagine that the teammates of these two guys are feeling, as they say, any some type of way. I feel like, as a contract dispute goes, this is normal, but it's the first of its kind here in NCAA sports.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to lead to a tsunami of other incidences like this as we move forward?
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's hard to see. It's hard to see where exactly it goes, but you got to imagine, look, a precedent's been set. And when you talk about contract, it's legal behind that. And you think legal precedents, now kids are going to want to make sure they have a contract so that they can get theirs.
Basketball season hasn't even started yet on the college level. I'm sure we'll have some reports on things like this moving forward in the next couple of months. It's going to be very interesting. But just the whole culture of sports and amateur, the British model of amateurism going back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, bye-bye, long gone, and it's officially and legally gone now, and everybody has a price. I know I talked to a coach not too long ago. He says, you go to somebody's house, the mother, father, or the kid are saying, hey, how much money you got for me? What do you got? Here's what I'm looking for. You can't do that? All right, bye. So that's where we are.
If guys like Coach K, top of the top in that industry, has the viewpoint that kids are pros now, it's time, I think, that everybody else look at that and go, okay, let's wake up to what the reality is today. With the rules and the changes that are going to happen, it's just we just don't know where it lands because it'll be fast moving, but interesting to watch.
Yeah, and very jarring to see this first this first incident like this, and so I guess we should just get used to it and move forward. Speaking of moving forward, we got an unbelievable conversation here with Ken Griffey Jr., one of baseball's all-time greats, and let's get right to it. It is a pleasure to welcome in Ken Griffey Jr., Baseball Hall of Famer, one of the all-time greats, best Seattle Mariner ever. And Junior, welcome to our Hey Now podcast. Good to see you, man. How you been?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Doing all right. We're doing all right. We're pretty excited. We want to get into this. We want to have some laughs. We want to get some insights from you. Talk about your life. Talk about your career. We got to start at the beginning. And I remember you told me your baseball really started with your granddad. You told me one time your granddad grew up with Stan Musial and Denora, and then that fed that right down to your dad to you.
Well, they played high school baseball together. The unfortunate thing is that my grandmother and grandfather got divorced when my dad was 2. But that didn't stop him from playing baseball. So, baseball is, our blood. I mean, everybody in the Steeler area, Pittsburgh area loves the Steelers. So, you have baseball and football. And so those are the 2 sports that our family played.
Nice. What do you remember your first baseball memory as either a player or just watching? What do you remember?
Just going in there, as a kid, going in my dad's locker, grabbing his glove, and then going to the tunnel. Other things are like being in Indianapolis, shagging balls in the stands. Oh yeah. Hardly anybody was there, and you could run all over the stadium. It was one of those things that when you were younger, there were a lot more freedom to run around the ballpark than there is now. Now you got to sit down. You're not going anywhere. You got to watch the game. But before then, I was up in the walkway, the second level, wherever there was a foul ball that I felt that I could go get. I went and grabbed it.
What did it feel like to have that type of free reign back then? Because childhood memories, you remember emotions, right? Like, what did that feel like to you?
I was like 4 or 5. I just know that my mom was like, you're going to run around the stadium until you get tired, and then we're going to go home and go to sleep. But I think they did that. The method to their madness was let me run and so I can get in the car and pass out.
I do that with my kids. That's good parenting right there. That's what that is.
Parenting 101.
Yep. Wow. Talk about remember we were talking about Kirby Puckett. My dad was doing ESPN in '94. Right. I was 11, and it was the Blue Jays and Twins.
Right.
And I was 11, run all over that stadium, and Kirby kept saying, "Hey, little man, you got no balls?" And he kept giving me foul balls, and I was stuffing them in my bag. Hey, little man, you good? And
certain people that they understand, and that's the thing. I mean, you look at it when your dad started, my dad played. There was a lot more brothers playing than what we have now. So when you see a young kid now, it's extra special to see those kids out there, and you want to make sure that they're taken care of.
Wow. I'm still mad I got left behind on that trip for some reason. I still don't understand why. But
you might have been the bad one.
I was definitely the good one. So I was a little guy though. So I don't know.
No. I took Trey on one road trip.
Uh-huh.
And that was to Cleveland, and he was 9, and we ordered food and sent it to somebody else's room, make them pay for it. And the person that I was saying, it was Sean Casey, and it was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and some chicken fingers. And Casey was like, and I happened to be in line behind him. He was complaining to the front desk that he didn't order none of this. And then I tapped him on the shoulder. I was like, it was me. He said, I'm going to take care of this. But, sometimes you got to be left behind.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. My dad did that to me. He took me on a road trip one time, and I think I got shipped home the next day. I remember getting shipped home from Puerto Rico. At like 7, he was there, and this is the funny story because I very rarely share this one. that he made all the time, that he struck out, and I grabbed the bat and I said I could hit him, and marched off. And he was still at home plate. And then I think he did something else, and I just looked at him and he was like, "You're going home." So he shipped me home the next day.
Yeah, that's a lot of. Not did you travel a whole bunch? I mean, after that,
No,
that was it. That was pretty much it.
no, no. My dad was this way. This is my job. It's not yours. I just want you to be a kid. Go play, have fun, be a kid. A lot of these things, a lot of this stuff that you're gonna see and hear, you don't need to see and hear as a 8, 9, 10-year old. And so I was probably at the ballpark 4 times a year early.
Oh wow.
Opening day, Father and Sunday. And when with the Reds, it was husbands and versus the wives. And then probably maybe a couple more times when my mom was like, "You're gonna take these kids because I got something to do." But it wasn't like, I was sitting there. I was in high school before I watched my first game from the dugout.
Wow.
And my dad was playing for the Braves. So it wasn't like I never had a Reds uniform sitting in the dugout at all. Definitely didn't want to have one as a Yankee. But as a Brave, there's a couple pictures of me sitting in the dugout with my dad. And I was 15, 16.
You mentioned the Yankees. I want to go there. You opened the door. I got to go there. I remember you and I have talked about this. You've talked about this before. Was it a lot of your peer group, kids your age, were allowed to play in the clubhouse, and you got picked out one? What was the gist of that story?
I went to the ballpark early with my dad. I just flown in and went to the ballpark. It was like 1 o'clock, and he's got early hitting.
Right. And how old were you at that time?
12. So I go in there. We're down on the field, and I'm in the dugout. And the security guard comes up to my dad and says, "Hey, George doesn't want him want him out here." My dad was like, "He's just going to sit in the dugout." He goes, "He wants nobody in the dugout." And my dad looks at me and goes, "Look at third base. It's Craig Nettles' son taking ground balls at third base." And that's all it took.
And you said, "Never am I going to play for the Yankees."
No, I didn't say it then, but as I got older, and watched how some of the treatment that my dad had from the Yankees, I was like, all right. So it fueled a fire of just trying to beat the brakes off all the time. What's really funny is like, I'm 10 friends of mine play for the Yankees. From Jeter to Bernie to Tino to Jorge. I mean, yeah, Jesse. I mean, Winfield, Ricky. The list goes on.
They're your boys, but you said, "I'm not going to join them."
I'm not. No, that sorority, I'm not jumping on.
Yeah, so that obviously made 95. I want to get back to a couple other things, but 95, that had to make that special when you beat them in that playoff, right?
Well, I mean, it was the big bad Yankees versus the little Seattle Mariners, and you go down 0-2, and you're like, you have a manager that's like, "Hey, we're gonna win tomorrow." Lou was like, "We're gonna win tomorrow, just one pitch at a time, and then we end up tying the series up, and then all the pressure's on the Yankees now. It's not on us. And the seesaw battle. The last game they got up a few runs, and then we came back, and I'm still mad at Edgar. I mean, all he had to do is hit the ball out the ballpark, and I don't have to slide. Get the ball up, 40 feet, and everybody's happy. But to be able to run around the bases and to score like that is definitely one of the icing on the cake. But the one thing that our team promised each other early in spring was that we're going to try to score on every ball. We're going to make it so tough for the third base coach to hold you up. And I think, if you look at over the last couple of years around that time, yeah, we had a lot of guys score 100 plus runs because, we wanted to score for one another.
Well, that's great. Now, is that fastest you've ever run on a baseball
No.
field?
See, the thing is I can run. Just there's certain times that, when you run like that, people go, "Oh, you can run." I'm like, well, I play center field, so I can obviously run. But the thing is learning how to play the outfield. Position yourself where you don't have to make the spectacular plays all the time. People look at what ESPN has done is show the highlights, but they don't show the work that goes into it prior to that. How am I going to play a Julio Franco, a Rafael Palmeiro, a Wade Bogg, a Jesse Barfield. I mean, the list goes on. If I had to, when Harold played Baltimore and Dave Valley, how am I going to play these guys? And so the studying was done way before I even got to the ballpark.
Right.
So when I got to the ballpark, it was like, okay, let's fine tune things and go from there. Being in pitchers meeting, how are we going to pitch certain people? It's not like, we just sit there and go, all right, we're going to do this. I mean, no. Knowing where we're going to play. And if something comes up and we have a situation where we're going to pitch somebody differently, then it's very easy. We just, make an adjustment out there. The outfield coach would give me a heads up, and then I would relay it to, the other outfilders.
Yeah.
You know this as well or better than anybody, given what you've accomplished, what you do in the dark shows in the light. What preparation, what did that mean for how you played on the field? And like, when did that become a cornerstone of your game?
Well, when I got drafted, I literally went to Atlanta and I went out and most people don't know that, Willie Stargell played the outfield. They just think of him as the first baseman. And we went out there and worked on footwork for about 2 hours, and then it was like, okay, this is easy. Once I got it, then he started hitting balls to me. But it was, like I played 2.5 years outfield before I was drafted. I was a pitcher first baseman up until then. People think, oh, you were stuck in the outfield. No, I was a pitcher. But then I realized I could hit. And they were like
difference maker.
And they were like, he could change the game, 7 days a week over maybe 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the deciding factor, is that I could actually, play and make a difference defensively and offensively over just throwing the ball.
If you had to go back, would you try and still pitch and hit like a la Ohtani does nowadays?
We weren't allowed to do it then. That's the difference. I mean, if you look at, if something happened, if Ohtani got hurt, you have possibility of losing 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? Bring up a pitcher? Or are you going to bring up a hitter? So, they made a decision. I mean, you look at Hunter Green. Hunter Green was a shortstop in high school and hitting balls in the third deck at Petco Park. And he's pitching. But sometimes the organization make a decision for you, and sometimes it works, and sometimes you could be a Trevor Hoffman who gets drafted as a shortstop and ends up being one of the greatest closers.
Right. The great Jimmy Lee Solomon introduced me to Hunter Green. Rest in peace to Jimmy, and I love his mindset. Hunter Green, you talk about preparation. What was your mindset? How did it evolve over your career, your approach to that part of the game?
I don't like to lose. My friends say I'm the worst loser and even sore winner. Like, I am bad. I send notes and everything. Playing golf. I mean, I'm sending You know, I got I drive an Audi RS6 Avant, which is a station wagon, but a souped up station wagon. My wife doesn't think it's a station wagon because it don't look like that. It looks like just a fast little car. And I call it the hearse because on Sunday I drive it. I tell my friends I put all my dead bodies in here so I can take them to the burial site. I mean, we just have a lot of fun, but uh, I send them little notes during the week, and then they'll send back stuff, firing, and I'll be like, "Hey, don't poke the bear." Y'all know what happens when y'all poke the bear. But we have a lot of fun. I mean, you got to have fun. But going back to how preparation during baseball, when you have good teachers, veteran leaders, to be able to sit you down. I mean, Jeffrey Leonard was my guy along with Mickey Brantley, who were there constantly in my ear all the time about this is what we do. This is how we do it. And then my dad came there the following year. So it just, that early knowledge of what I had to do, at 19 and 20 just stuck with me throughout my career. And then as you get older, then it's a matter of, you're not going to play every day. It's about helping the next generation of athletes.
We had Harold on recently, and he talked about Harold Reynolds, talked about how he and Mickey Brantley and those guys helped shepherd you along when you were going through that rough spot early on when you first came up. What do you remember about those days when you were really scuffling?
You mean the first 10 days?
It was.
I got my first hit, and then I was like, I went over. I think I went 0 for 4 days.
Woo!
Yeah, but I mean that's only like
that's
bats,
nothing.
13 at bats.
Yeah,
that still plays in your head though, right?
No, then I got my first hit in Seattle, which was my first at bat was a home run. Once I got the home run, it was like okay,
broke the ice.
Yeah, and then the other thing was they guarded me on certain things, not letting me face certain lefties at first, and I'm like, my dad's left-handed. I feel more comfortable facing left-handed pitchers than I do right-handed pitchers. Just because I have to do certain things from a structure part of my swing and making sure that my hands are inside, making sure that I keep my shoulder tucked, making sure I get my foot down. So all these things, were right-handed. I'm like, I'm going to hit that ball right there. And the ball will be behind me or something like that. But as a lefty, I have to just come in, bring it in and watch it more instead of relying on, I'm going to hit this to the moon. It's like, all right, I got to make sure that I drive it somewhere in the gaps.
You have definitely probably the most iconic swing in the history of the game, I would say. So I grew up, I'm a lefty, and you were my favorite player growing up. I had my hands high. I had the waggle. My dad would make me, he's like, get your hands down, get your hands. He's always telling me to get my hands down. Where did your swing mechanics come from? Was that just that natural?
Just
did
natural.
Your dad instill that natural?
No, it's just natural. But when you chop wood, you don't chop with your hands low.
Yeah. I always sneak it back up.
I was wrong.
You don't chop wood with your hands down low. And ain't nobody chopping down here.
Yeah,
you got to get them things up.
Yeah.
But there are certain things. I mean, you look at guys that have power usually stand up straight, higher, hands up. Guys that have hit for a higher batting average are usually your flat swingers, where the barrel of their bat is flatter. Because they're trying to just guide it through the zone. And you look at how women's softball batting averages are higher than men's, baseball. And it's not because the pitching is any better. It's the fact that they swing on a level swing than a little bit of arc. I go down, flat, and then up. If you look at these girls, they're, pretty flat, gradually going down to get to meet the ball, but they're pretty flat.
Wow.
June, this whole podcast, the reason we're really doing this is to just have my dad learn what he should have told Jordan 25 years ago. So thanks for helping out.
Why I'm not in the league? Yeah.
Kill me.
Air my grievances. Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm in that too because there's some things I need to talk to my daddy about too. So
we had
a class action suit.
We had Phil Sims was on with us, and he was saying he's got to step right to the. What do you say? Step right to the target.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying like step at the target.
That's what I was taught. Yeah, Phil Sims, when he lit me up, man. He said, you got to step away, and the arm's got to come right at the target. That way. So I thought that was interesting.
I'm not stepping away out of the hit, and I got to step towards that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
Who's anyone swing in the game right now that you like to watch the most? Anyone you like to hit at the plate? You like to watch at the plate?
When Julio's right, I like to watch Julio. He's fun to watch. Vlad, you got Trout when he's healthy. Harper. I mean, there's so many guys. Acuna. I mean, there's so many guys in this league that are fun to watch. De La Cruz and those guys. I mean, when you bring athleticism back into the game, it makes it fun to watch.
Oh.
When guys can hit triples and score from first, that's fun. That is baseball. You're not gonna win with 3-run home runs every day, but if you can do the small things, and I was taught do the small things and big things happen. When I tell people I've got basically 6 walk-off home runs and really one's an inside the park, they look at me like I'm crazy because they're going, you have 600. And I'm like, yeah, you got to do the small things. I've got more game-winning hits than I have game-winning home runs.
Wow.
It's just the way they are. I mean,
where are you right now? Where are you right now in the whole, as you described your swing? Where are you right now with the whole launch angle in the era?
Well, you can look at the strikeouts and see where that's going. We have this argument. Okay, yeah, it's an exit velo of whatever 109 and a 24 to 27 degree launch angle. Like, okay, all right, that's fine. But if the wind's blowing in, that ain't going nowhere. do that in Chicago. Do it at some of these new ballparks where they're open. Do it at a ballpark where do it at Old Candlestick where the wind was blowing in. I mean, you got to learn how to hit the ball on a line. Home runs are accidents. But if you've got 130 your outs are strikeouts, that's a problem. You got 200 strikeouts, you got 600 bats. Well, let's see if you're hitting 225. Let's say you cut those in half and you get 25 hits. You're at 250, 270. Guys got to take pride in not striking out. I think that's, for me, is, we weren't allowed to strike out. You struck out enough. You got sent back to the minors. Now guys are like, it's okay to strike out 200 times, 220. I was looking at some stats that, somebody got like 205 now or something like that, 150. He's over 175.
Right after the break.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I struck out, 121 times twice in back-to-back years, but I had just come off a wrist surgery, and they told me, don't check swing. Just go ahead and swing. We'll deal with that. But that's an organizational thing after having surgery. But then going back, I'm like, striking out, walking back to the dugout is the most embarrassing walk. You don't want to talk to your teammate. Like, he said, "Hey, what do you got?" You only want to say nothing to him. I just think that that's an embarrassing walk. I mean, you didn't do a job, and I remember Gene Klein looking at me. I struck out one time, and he looked at me. And the best part is he took his hat off and he started talking to his hat. And I came up to him the next time. He was like, I said something. He's like, I go, "Why are you talking to your hat?" He said, "Well, I figured that I was going to get a better answer from this hat than you right now." So, but I was, 19, but, you struck out, enough times. They send you home. They send you back down. Talk about you need some seasoning. That's what they
Yeah.
called it back then.
Right.
You need a little more seasoning.
Hey, June.
Willie Mays Hayes wouldn't have made it.
Hey, take us back to draft day. You were number 1 pick overall, 87. Walk me through that day.
I literally got up. I signed the paperwork the night before, just because it was, they didn't want to take any chances. So I was literally signed and sealed, delivered. I just had the phone call, and then, I asked my dad, "Was he all right?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm all right." He goes, "Are you all right?" And then a couple hours later, I was sitting in Atlanta dugout in Atlanta. Took a plane ride there. They had to get permission from the Mariners for me to be in the dugout. Yeah, because now I'm property of the Seattle Mariners, and so they granted it because it was like that's still father and son. It's not like he's there as a cousin. Or this is
Right.
It's still my dad, and so I went out there, and like I said, I went out now filled with Willie Stargell and worked on ground balls and fly balls and getting jumps and things like that, and went in the cage and hit, and then 2 days later, I was shipped off. I was literally drafted on the 2nd. My brother's birthday's on the 3rd. June 4th, I graduate high school. June 8th, I'm in Seattle. June, I think 16th, I played my first game. So it was a whirlwind of emotions the first week.
Where'd you open up at Bellingham?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to Bellingham. I think I went 0 for 4 my first, and then got a home run. I think my first 3 hits were home runs, and I hit a double off the top of the wall.
Wind of emotions. Was that like it was just pure excitement, or did it feel somewhat like a foregone conclusion since you grew up in the game and knew you were going to that place?
No, it was just you're leaving home for the first time. You're now a pro, so things are different. Just everything that goes on with it. It's a learning curve. I mean, 10 days before that, I'm in high school. I'm taking exams.
Yeah.
And then, basically 2 weeks later, I'm playing my first pro game, 2,000 miles away from my mom and dad.
Ooh, boy, that's an adjustment.
Yeah. And I'll go from, 4,000 square foot house, TV, to 2-bedroom apartment with 4 people. A twin bed. Oh yeah. Walk to the ballpark, walk home after a game, just it was an adjustment.
How did the guys around you treat you, given that your father was who he was? Did
And
they
you were
treat you
1-1,
differently or
yeah.
no?
Nah, that stuff doesn't really bother me, or I don't look at it. I mean, I had friends. I mean, there was who Dorian Daltrey, Tony Kaysen, and Daryl Burris were my roommates, and we were all all high school kids. Tony lives in Ocala, right down the street, from me. I mean, hour away, but none of those guys made it, but we were all friends through the minor leagues. I mean, you don't really keep too many friends in the minor leagues, due to the fact that everybody's going to go to a different level. Because the next year, I had Jose Tartable, Danny's brother, Ted Williams, Jim Bowie, well, Woody as roommates. And we stayed in a 3-bedroom, 3-story townhouse. And then halfway through that year, I was sent to AA. And, you know, I had Patrick Lennon and Calvin Jones as roommates.
Wow. So
And then I get to the big leagues. I have Greg Briley as a not a roommate, but my roommate when I was on the road. And then that's when they changed the rules. Like, you know what? We're getting all solo rooms from here on out.
Difference maker.
Yeah.
So going
But
from
I
that,
had to,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say going from that to having your own video game, that was, and all the things that would come later. Like, what did you close your eyes when you were in that 2-bedroom and picture as your future at that time? Or were you just focused on what was the task at hand?
What was the task? The only thing that's funny is like when Michael came out with the Jordans, I got a pair and I looked at my mom. I was 15. I go, I'm gonna get my own shoe. And my mom was like, yeah, okay. Like every other mom, go ahead, you're gonna be all right. Yeah, yeah, uh-huh. And then when it happened, I called her, said I got my own shoe. And I sent her the pair and she just started laughing. She was like, okay. But for the most part, when all these things I tell people what I do on the field will determine what happens off the field. If you do what you're supposed to do on the field, you're going to be able to get things off the field that nobody else is going to get. But you got to separate yourself from everybody.
I remember
so
you
I learned
telling.
that. I learned at an early age. My number one job was to play baseball.
Yeah.
Everything else is secondary.
And I remember you telling me that people used to give you grief because you wouldn't take BP here in Seattle because you were doing a lot of your work at night, right?
During the winter,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking BP at my house. I built a cage in my backyard. I'm riding my bike at 12 to 2 o'clock in the morning. When I come to the ballpark, I'm pretty prepared. I would still hit early. I mean, I love to hit early, and I don't like hitting in the cage. That's probably where people go, why not hit in the cage? That's where all the hard work's done. I'm going, no, I need to see the ball flight, and it's not that I hit it up in the stands. I want to see when I hit a line drive, what kind of spin does it have? Is it gradually turning over, or is it got that hard, left to right turn? Or if I'm hitting it down the left field line, is it hit on a line down the left field line, or is it got the little flare off the bat? And that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to see if I'm hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Because like I said, those are accidents. I'm looking to hit the ball as hard as I can and making somebody pay. And in order for me to do that, I need to be able to see what it looks like, because I can basically, adjust my swing from pitch to pitch.
The hell of a lot of accidents, 630.
Damn. Well, somebody messed up somewhere. And that's what I said. Somebody messed up in the dirt area, whether the catcher gave the bad sign or the pitcher threw it the wrong spot. It's not necessarily me.
I think matter of fact, your last homer, I called that one here in Seattle in 2010. Hey, you just mentioned Michael and Shoe. And by this time, you established yourself. You're one of the big stars of the game. I know a lot of the cats that are playing now, you're their guy. But what was that like, with Jordan? So now you got the same thing working in terms of promotions, in terms of, off-field success.
Well, there's levels. There's still that pecking order.
Okay.
We still way up here. We still down here.
All right.
He paved the way for a lot of guys to be in a situation that we're in, to have a signature shoe, to be recognized, not only on the field, but to be spokesmen off the field. I mean, he paved the way for a lot of us, and he still does it. I mean, he still, gets us in spots and puts us in positions to be successful.
He makes a phone call, it's done, right?
If he does, yeah, it's pretty much over.
What was your first interaction with him like, and do you guys still have a relationship today?
Yeah, we belong to the same golf club. I belong to his golf club,
Uh-huh.
Grove 23. We get there and then start laughing and joking, but he's still the same guy. I mean, he's competitive, like we all are. Uh, but he's not so much as the tyrant that people would look at him on, The Last Dance. I mean, he's more relaxed and has a lot of fun when we're out there. But he still wants to play. He still
Hmm.
wants to beat you.
With the competitive fire both you guys have, that's got to be, awesome.
How did the world's most celebrated athlete want to remember his visit to the All-Star game? How else? By getting an autograph from one of baseball's hottest stars.
Where'd Ken Griffey go? I think we'll pull back. Y'all turn this off and do whatever you got to do. Let me give my autograph. Do I give it to you? No. I'm going to it. I may go by and touch it. Michael, did you get any tips? I'm going to leave my number over there. Call me, man. All right. What touch? You want this one? I take it off my back here. I get it. Sign it or I see the White Sox all the time. They give me those. We're going to get another one. I hope so. Come when it comes to Chicago, get mad at
You you talk about how you are a great talker, throw people off of their game. You got first tee box jitters. I do. I think everybody does. Even if you're, about to play with your pops, which I have when I play with my dad and playing with their, favorite player of all time, I get on the tee and I was first. And then you said, no, actually, Dad, you hit first, hit one like 250. It was, down the middle. And I was like, okay. And then, I was up next. Junior said, let's see who's got the bigger dick, the daddy or the son. Let's see what he could do with it. Let's see what he could do with it.
Well,
I'm
somebody got
to going like, oh shit.
Sometimes you gotta stir the pot just a little bit. Sometimes you gotta do certain things and be like, oh, here we go. I mean, if you're not, like I say this, if you're not nervous, you ain't ready.
True enough. True enough.
Like you want to get out there. Now there's a difference between being nervous and unprepared.
That's the worst. That is the worst.
Going to a room when you got to take a test and you ain't ready.
Yeah.
So I just start laughing because I'm like, for me, whether it's on the golf course, playing baseball, doing defense, like I said, there's three parts of baseball. There's hitting, there's defense, and there's base running. And, I was taught, you got to do them exceptionally well, or they're going to find somebody to take your place.
Yeah.
And you want to be in there shaking hands at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be watching and walking from the dugout playing for, 7 innings and then somebody come in and take your job. Yeah.
Well, how did that feel to you?
I mean, it's good. I mean, when you have, there's certain, like Bo, Charles, Scotty, we were all in a certain group of athletes at Nike. Of course again, it's the pecking order. I'm the low man on the totem pole only because, it's hard to sell baseball spikes.
Mm-hmm.
Bo made, the cross train is popular. You can still cross train. Michael with the basketball shoe that, you can wear anywhere.
Right.
So me being the low man, I had to learn. Plus they're like, my older brothers, they took care of me.
It's funny you say that.
Funny.
Yeah. Again, because I want to follow up on that.
They are, make sure you're all right when you come into town. They pick you up, they take you out to eat. It's funny is I'll tell you, like having parents who give back, because my mom and dad, uh, anytime that you come into town, they're gonna feed you. Well, there was one particular person that came into town, hit 5 home runs because she fed him the first day, hit 5, and she walked past Barry in his Barry Bonds. She walked by and said, "You will never get fed on the first day of the series. We're gonna get you on the way out, so you can wear somebody out, the next team out, but you are not getting a home cooked meal when you come here again."
Oh man, that's a great
Even
story.
mom is superstitious now.
Oh yeah, he had 5.
God.
She like yeah. So it's funny because even Bo would come into town, him and Frank, and he'd be like, "Hey, is Melissa cooking?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, what y'all want?" And we made a 12-pound deep fried turkey, macaroni and cheese, greens, the works.
Right.
And Frank was playing, Bo wasn't. So at the end of the game, Frank calls me, talk about, "Hey man, where the food?" I said, "Man, I dropped that off when I came into the ballpark." And Bo was in there laughing. Bo ate the whole 12-pound turkey himself.
My goodness.
Bowie Chestnut. God damn, that's crazy.
Oh,
yeah, Bowie Chestnut. Good line.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what that's what you do. I mean, I go into certain cities, Mrs. Bonds have something for me. Going to Texas, I got Bobby and Marion Tolan have something. Go to New York, I got my uncles that, so everywhere I went, I always had a home cooked meal.
That's beautiful.
Which was cool.
Hey, you talked about those guys taking care of you. Wasn't there a time with like you, Mike, the Chuckster, you sort of put your arm around Tiger Woods and sort of brought him along? There was a time where that was in play, wasn't it?
Well, the thing was Tiger lived by me. And I told him that hey, you're gonna be way more famous than I am. I wear a uniform. And you're in street clothes, so you're gonna be way more recognizable than I am. So I said the only person I know is Mike. And so I picked up the phone, called Mike, and that's when he went up to Chicago and was on Oprah and played golf with Mike. And that's the first time that they met. But that was that was mid 90s. But like I said, I mean, and I would play golf with them. But for the most part, like I said, when you get to a certain point and there's I got a uniform on, I got a hat, I can hide, I can do this, I can do that. He can't. I mean,
right.
And I just wanted him to be with a person that understands that sort of, celebrity status, because, I didn't reach that. I could reach it in the baseball world, but that's baseball world. But a global icon like that, I mean, there's only a couple people, him, Michael and Muhammad Ali.
No lie. Hey, let's talk a little bit about you playing with your dad, because that, and especially now in these days with, LeBron's trying to hook it up so he can play with Bronny. That early dynamic, the first couple of games you're playing together, and certainly everybody remembers you stepping in front of your pops and taking a fly ball away and the back-to-back home runs. But what was that like?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, he actually called me and he goes, "Hey, I got to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay." He goes, "I got a chance the Mariners want to pick me up for the rest of the year, or I can go ahead and retire." And he goes, "But I'm going to leave the decision up to you." And I said, "Come on." And so he gets out there and you see the press conference. We have a lot of fun. But the one thing about my dad is he was a dad at home, but a teammate at the ballpark. And he said it. He was like, "Hey, this is your team. I'm just here. And I get to have one of the greatest seats in the house to watch, my son play."
And your father's a hell of a good player, man. Hell of a good player.
Well, I kept telling him, I said, "Look, for 17 years, you protected me. For the next 6 weeks, I get to protect you." Because he batted second, I batted third. And then I got the comment that you always give the boys in there. While you live at my house, you live by my rules. Well, he stayed with me and I gave it to him. He moved out. My mom thought it was funny, but he was like, I'm out. I'm gone. But, and when I talk about, the time where, like every kid, after a game, dad is all mad. Yeah, a couple times I wanted to ride home with mom.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I didn't want to listen to dad. I'd be like, but again, I learned so much. And if you look at what happened, I hit 264 my rookie year, I hit 300 my second year, hit 327 my third year. And that's all because I learned from all those guys.
Yeah.
When you have veterans that sit there and be like, hey, settle down. You're not that far off. Relax. You need that. I don't need, I didn't need another rookie telling me because we're in the same situation. We both rookies. But, having a guy who, Jeffrey Leonard, 15 years in, my dad, at the time, 17, 18 years in.
Couple of rings.
Having those guys sit there and say, hey, relax. You're going to be all right.
All right.
And then all the guys around the league.
The day you go back to back, that is still mind blowing beyond words. You go back to back. Was it Kirk McCaskill down in Anaheim?
Yeah, he hit his. Told him I protected him. It's my story. Nah, actually, he hit it. He hit it and he touched home plate and he goes, "That's how you do it, son." And I just looked at him like, and then I hit mine and I couldn't wait to get around to the base, run around the bases. And then he made me shake everybody's hand and then he shook mine and he goes, we just did. I go, yeah, we hit back-to-back home run. I'm 20, so I'm still involved in the game. Him being 40, he's over there understanding what history we just made. And I'm like, I want to win this game. We lost that game. Dave Winfield hit 2 home runs in that game. But the thing is that as what's funny is we're running in and Dave is yelling, "I want to be a part of history. I want to be a part of history." But
that's great.
You see the battling competitiveness, even though these guys, are 40 years old, they still talking junk and battling day in and day out. Going to the catch where I took it from him.
Oh my goodness.
That's very simple. Y'all saw a couple years ago we was at the Field of Dreams and I lobbed the ball to him and he dropped it. All I was doing is I didn't want him to understand. I wanted the people in the world to understand that I didn't want to embarrass my dad. I just wanted to make sure the good hands caught it. Everybody saw what happened to him. I didn't want that to happen, in a real game. But it's funny because, he did say I was grounded. Then I, the thing is, and then I called his mom, went above his head. But, like I said, the things that I learned in the time that my dad was on the field, in the clubhouse, helped me throughout my career. And I don't know if I would have learned it at 22. I may have learned it at 20, I learned it at 20. It might have been 22, 23, 25, but I learned it at an earlier age because I was able to see it and feel it.
That's tremendous. That is tremendous.
I got a question about just in the 90s. You mentioned Barry Bonds. Did you feel you guys were kind of like the marquee stars of the 90s, undoubtedly? Did you feel like any sort of rivalry with him in the 90s or no?
No. I talk to Barry probably 3 times a month now.
Okay.
When I got to Instruction League, at 17, Barry came and picked me up to take me to eat. the media makes it seem like, there's some enemies. I mean, you know, Trout and Harper, somebody got to be Batman and somebody got to be the Joker or, somebody got to be, the villain. And, you got two guys that just want to go out there and play as hard as they can and do the right thing for their teams. Like I said, I mean, Barry spent quite a few nights at my parents' house. It wouldn't be a shock that when I walked in, there'd be, Willie Stargell, Gerald Perry, Brooks Lawrence, Joe Black, Dale Murphy, all at my house eating dinner.
That's a crazy list. That's a crazy.
I mean, but that's just the way, things were back then. I mean, yeah, you want to beat them, but you had families still taking care of other families because they know how hard it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
When we talked to Dustin, talking about Satchel Paige, talking junk to him because got rookie hazed by Satchel. Did any of those guys ever, approach you like that in a good-natured kind of ribbing way, or is that?
No, they got me on April Fool's Day. They said we sent you down. Well, we made a trade. We got Dale Murphy. He's going to play center. You're going to be sent down. I was like, I ain't going down. Now, I have not one day in the big leagues. And so
that's that same confidence you talked about when you were 4. I could hit him.
Yeah. I was like, I ain't going down. I said, my mom's here. We're in Vegas. My mom is here. We just gonna drive back to Cincinnati. I ain't doing this, And the manager kept saying, hey, what day is it? I was like, April 1st. Not even thinking that it's April Fool's Day. And he just kept saying it. And finally he opened the door and it was, Mark Langston, Alvin Davis, Val, and Harold's face was like, we got you. I'm like, all right. Knowing that I'm going to get all y'all back.
Get back was probably rough. What was the get back?
In between lighting their shoestrings on fire, things like that. Taking Langston deep a couple years later.
And talking to him as you're rounding the bases?
Nah, that story is we're in Toronto and Langston, before he got traded, was like, if I drop down on the lefty, that's a purpose. And a couple years later, the next year later, I think he dropped down on me and struck me out. And I was sitting there like, okay, that won't happen again. And then I come back from All-Star break and Langston pitching and my name's not in the lineup. And I literally scratched my name and put my name in the lineup and then walked in Lou's office like, Lou was like, hey, son, we got to give you a break. I was like, not today. Not today. You may be able to do it tomorrow, but today is not. And he said, no, I'm giving you a break. I said, well, I'm going to run out to center field. I wonder who's going to come back. You can do it. One of us is going to be batting out of order.
You were the first player, there's been player coaches in sports, but like LeBron basically was the coach of the Cavs,
The GM.
The GM and the.
I just need to get
Junior first.
No, I just need to get that get back.
Yeah. What did you do? How'd you get him back? How'd that go against Langston?
I hit a home run straightaway center.
First AB?
I don't know if it's the first AB, but I got him during that day.
And I'm sure you remind him about it often now?
No. We very seldom see each other, but
yeah,
I just, like, you hear the story about Nick Anderson telling MJ 45823.
Oh Lord.
Yep.
It's the same way.
Yep.
Unreal.
Yeah,
hey,
I remember a whole lot of things.
Yeah. Hey, let me just backtrack real quick. LeBron and Bronny, what advice would you give both of those cats?
Well, I texted and talked to, told them congratulations. That Pops and I are going to be there for the first game, first home game. Just want to go out there and enjoy the festivities and celebration. I mean, because you know, it's one of those things. I mean, you look at it, the dad has to play a long time and the son has to be good, and so, and they're doing it. And there's going to be some others that are going to do it. I mean, kids are younger, able to get to, number one, the big leagues a lot faster. But you gotta, in the case you have to have your kids young and you've got to be around to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Home run derbies. What did those days mean to you? Because you were a dominant force in that all-star festivities.
Well, I didn't have to change anything. I just hit the ball probably 4 inches further than what I would normally hit it.
Catch it out in front a little bit more.
Catch it out in front, and that was it. I mean, I didn't try. I mean, if you look at a couple of my home runs, I hit oppo. I didn't pull everything. I go to Boston, I hit one off, straightaway center, hit it over to a monster, hit it to right, hit it to left. Because what happens, and what most people don't realize, is they watch that film. And if you're sitting there pulling balls, they're going to stay out of that hot zone.
Yeah.
And you start rocketing balls left center and left field and straight away, they don't know where to pitch you because you can go out everywhere. It's funny because I caught Dusty in LA, watching the home run derby. I was looking at him like, I know what you're doing. He just started laughing. Because think about this: the guys in the home run derby hit home runs. Where do they like the ball? In a certain spot. I'm going to watch it just to get them out of that spot. I'm not going to throw a ball there.
Yeah.
So people don't know that yeah, everybody's looking at, oh, it's fun, but there are coaches and staff that are sitting there looking for that hot zone and see where it's at. So when they face them, they know to stay away from it.
I'm not a manager of a team to put that strategy to use, but I'll never watch a home run derby the same way.
Yeah.
Oh, you get that right. Jeez. How do we save it, the home run derby? Because a lot of guys, hey, man, I ain't doing it. Judgy said, no, I'm good.
The first one, first All-Star game, I'm trying to do everything. I don't think I hit a ball out. The second one, I don't know what happened the second one, but the third one was in, Pittsburgh and, my hometown. And, I had to put on a good show. I didn't know I was going to win it, but I'm glad I did because now nobody can talk about me that you win it in the state that you're born in. So that's the important thing is you win it around close to family where they can't call you and be like, you just saw it. And then the only one that was tough was probably Cleveland. Just because we played the night game and then I had to fly all the way to Cleveland from LA and do the press conference in the morning and then the American League National League batting practice and I was like, I ain't doing this no more. Because I was just wore out after the first, and that's when the home run derby is at 4:30. So I've been up basically all night. I think I had an hour of sleep prior to that. I think we landed at like 6. And then the press conference was at 8. Batting practice was at, 10:30. Then you have their batting practice. Then you got team photos. And then it was, the home run derby. And by that time I was drained. I was like, I ain't doing it. And then I spent the whole next year, 98 talking about I ain't doing it. And then I took a lot of grief and, end up saying I'll do it 5 minutes before and end up winning it and would have took my trophy. If it wasn't for Harold coming to interview me, I'd have took my trophy and went home.
How do we with the guys, the contemporary guys? I mean, like I said, Judge and a few other guys, big names, Otani, they didn't want to do it anymore. But how do we save that home run derby? Keep it moving,
Well,
or is it salvageable?
it is. I mean, you still got some great young talent that can hit. I mean, yeah, everybody wants to see Judge, but like certain swings are not conducive for that, and people have to understand that part of it. It's not that they don't want to do it. It's just that they may not hit a lot of home runs in batting practice. You know, they may hit some ground balls and some topspin lobs and things like that. So, you know, when you see, oh, he's got, you know, he's a great power hitter. Yeah, but the home run derby or batting practice may not be his specialty. For me, it was, you know, just hit it out further out in front. But for other people, it's you know, it's a struggle to get the ball in the air.
Yeah, yeah. A couple moments ago, you mentioned Pittsburgh, hometown. You played a decade with the Mariners and then went to Cincinnati. What was that like? It was a homecoming for you. What was that experience like?
It was a little different, to say the least. I mean, just because I grew up going to school in Cincinnati and things like that, but it was a little rough at first. Got better, but you know, just you're trying to mesh personalities, and you know, certain things that you know were said that weren't necessarily true. Okay, they weren't true at all. But you know, people have their own narrative, and they say things, and then it gets out of hand, and then you're sitting there trying to say, "Hey, that's not me."
Who are these people?
And,
Who are we talking
well, just you know exactly what I'm talking about. See,
Jordan said I was a bad one, so I guess that's
yeah. So you know, just the thing I have is if you know me, you know me. If you can call me, you have the right to criticize me.
right.
If you don't have my phone number, I really don't pay attention. But when it starts affecting not only, I shouldn't say it affects me, but it affects, you know, the family and how my family moves, we got a problem.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's the only thing. My thing is if it affects, you know, how my family moves, you know, having, you know, armed guards, you know, in the walkway, making sure that, you know, when my wife got up with the kids to go to the bathroom, somebody's walking with her.
Wow.
You know,
this was where in Cincy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, things like that where, you know, people, oh, he's struggling. There's some things like, no, there's some other things off the field that, you know, were a lot more than on the field. On the field, I'm going to be all right. I mean, yeah, I didn't have the batting average that I normally have, but I still hit 40 and drove in 118. Now you hit 40 and drive 118 and hit 270, you're going to get 270 million.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. You bought in, you're part of ownership with the Mariners. Not a lot of players do that. What was the motivation to become a part of further ingrain yourself into Seattle fabric?
Well, there are certain things that you want the team that you played for to be acceptance of you know, you being an owner, you know, and that was a couple years in the making. But once I got there, just to be able to answer some of the questions, because some of the stuff that happens upstairs, you know, they need a guy who played. That's the thing is some of the, you know, some people who have played sometimes forget that they played. And then guys like, and I can only speak for me, is I know how hard this game is. And I want everybody to be successful. You know, I don't want, you know, oh, I'm jealous of this guy. I'm jealous of that guy. No, records were meant to be broken. Guys are going to be forgotten. But you want to help out as much as you can. And there's certain things that, you know, for me, like being a young team, having a veteran presence, you know, I wanted to stress that is, you know, get some guys that on this team that, hey, you know, they're not going to be expensive. but they got leadership quality to help with these young guys. And a couple of years ago, if you look, we went on a streak and they went out and got Upton. And what happened? I think we won 14 in a row or something like that. So, that's just, you need guys that are going to not play every day, but are more important in that locker room to mold these guys into understanding, okay, this is what it takes. And like I said, I had that at an early age. So I knew, are we close? Yeah. Are we far? Yeah. It's a battle.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's one thing or another. One day we'll have great pitching, the other one, we'll have good hitting and not great pitching. Pitching wise, we're one of the best. Hitting wise, we're one of the worst, if not the worst.
Yeah. No doubt.
But, and it's not because of lack of trying. I see these guys, I see them and, the guys are battling. That's all you can ask for.
Mm-hmm. Great.
The one thing is take control of what you can take control of and not worry about, what, Houston's doing, what,
Texas
the Rangers are doing.
Yeah. Hey,
worry
let me ask you
about who
this.
you are there.
Randy was wearing your spikes.
Yeah.
Randy Rosarena. I know you love that.
Yeah, but I knew at the beginning of the year. He's one of the guys that I like to watch. He's so fun and goes out there and plays hard and he's not having the season that he's on, but you look at what he's done in the playoffs when he gets the time to shine. And sometimes you need those guys. He knows what it's like. He just, he goes out. What he had 3 hits a couple nights ago.
Right.
So he's trending in the right direction. But I knew about the shoes, and I just started laughing because I was like, "Those are bright."
Hey man, guys in Dubuque were saying they're blinded by the light coming off of those shoes. That's amazing.
That's okay. I'm good with it.
Top five sneakers of all time.
Ooh, well, not in any particular order. I've got Jordan 1s.
All right.
I got mine, Bo, Penny.
Love the pennies.
And I have a autographed pair of Converse by Dr. J.
Ooh.
Okay.
Julius, the Dr. Irving.
Canvas All-Stars.
Oh, that's really old school.
Yeah. But they're a new pair, but I was like, Doc. I just looked at them like that. Now that was one person that I was looking at like, that's Dr. J. Like Mike, it was like, okay, that's Mike. But it was like, that's the doctor.
Who else is in that pantheon?
JaVale McGee's mom go and she's kissing Dominique. She's on the cheek, everybody on the cheek. And she gets to Dr. J. She planted one right on that.
Right there. Yeah.
Oh, she put it right on the kisser? I didn't see that.
Oh yeah. It's funny because like Shaq was my neighbor.
Right.
Dennis Scott, D Brown, Penny.
Barry Larkin.
Invented the dab.
Barry was there. AJ Przinsky. That you have golfers. It was Tiger, Mark O'Meara, Payne Stewart, Lee Jansen, Scott Hope, Grant Waite, Antonio Davis was in, and so there was and then Brett ended up living there a couple of years. Brett Boone lived there a couple of years, but there was some pretty intense pickup games.
Oh my God. We got some fierce competitors in there.
Well, they would talk junk and they'd be like, let's go to the batting cage. And they'd be like, let's go to the basketball court.
Who could really play out of those guys? You just in basketball.
I got Mark O'Meara. He was throwing it down.
Yeah.
No, Mark had a nice little jumper.
Okay.
Tiger could shoot a little bit.
Wow, no kidding.
But
from distance? or medium?
No, mid range.
Mid-range. All right, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No. See, the mid range game is the killer.
Thank you very much.
Because if you ain't got a mid range, are you gonna? You just gonna shoot threes? No, I need to come in there.
I'm with you.
Rip Hamilton
So
won championships with that.
Well, Michael Jordan, yeah.
everybody, look, mid range is that 12 to the 16 foot.
Gotta have it.
Got them.
Yeah. Gotta have it.
But I mean, the fun part is, everybody who's a pro in their sport was like, oh well, let's just go take it to my sport.
I was going to say, what about the basketball players? How did they swing it? Because generally, I've not seen too many. Yeah, right. Bad. Huh?
Terrible. It's embarrassing.
I agree.
Well, they're just long.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just long. I mean, like I play a lot of golf with Bo Outlaw now. And Bo shoots, 82 to 87. Doesn't hit the ball a long way, but he's very consistent. Can chip. One thing about basketball players, they got really good soft touch around the greens.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Like quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, but they're just not long.
Yeah. Hockey players are long, right? The hockey players can get it out there.
Hockey and tennis.
Yeah, man.
Only because that's conducive to their swing, how they swing.
Sure.
Like for me, I had to learn how to rotate because my baseball swing was me hitting a cut. And once I retired, then I learned how to turn it over. But before then, I was over there just hitting balls straight right to left.
Yeah.
And long.
Yeah.
We're talking about basketball. You've won. We've watched you slam dunk competition. Jordan and I are 80s babies. Dad, you called the LeBron McDonald's All-American game.
And the Slam Jam, the first time we saw him national TV. It was unreal.
Going back to that era, here's my question, though, going back to that era. Enjoyed you in the dunk competition, but also on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I was literally leaving after doing that. I did Fresh Prince, drove over to do the voiceover for The Simpsons, and then I was flying to Hawaii that night. But, I met Will and Alfonso a couple years prior. And, but, like it's different because people like friends. I mean, hey, what you guys doing? Blah, blah, blah. Everybody checking on. And then, having the show and they're like, hey, you want to be on it? I'm like, all right. But it was like, like you look around like, all right. And then you go in there and you see the entire crew. I mean, everybody's there. Neil Long was there. Jasmine Guy was there. Tyra Banks was there. They were all still part of that group. And so they were all.
Did your wife make that trip? Just curious.
Yeah. Yeah. She didn't go to the studio, but yeah, she was there. She was also like 4 months pregnant.
At least I don't have my woman fight my battles for me.
That was that was
one of your lines.
Yeah. Because it was all about making fun of Will.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a good sport on certain things. You just start laughing. Because there are some other lines in there that I was like, I can't say that. That's not me. That, little zingers that you go, I could take that one of two ways. But he was a good sport about it. And, they made sure that, and I don't mind being teased and because it is what it is. It's make pretend, but it's made for TV.
In terms of your that Fresh Prince episode and your other acting performances. You mentioned The Simpsons, but Little Big League and Summer Catch, which was your best? Which was your best performance?
Well, Summer Catch was easy because I was only there
Yeah,
for
it was
like
just like a hat
30
tip.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Little Big League, I was there for 3 days.
Okay.
And end up being one of my good friends, Dwayne Davis, who dad is Willie Davis, the defensive end for the Packers, Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So we became friends since '93 when I did that. We did it at the end of the year. He happened to be there for the end of the year. He just got done a couple months earlier, the movie The Program, playing in
Hot movie at that time.
Yeah. So we talked probably 3 or 4 times a week because our kids played against each other at the same age. Our kids are the same age, so they played against each other. Wyatt, the youngest one, I think is in Cleveland for the Browns. I mean, so we stay in touch. When he's in Florida, he comes to the house. When I'm in LA, I go to his house. We go have dinner. Our families take trips together. So, you try to stay close to guys, but Little Big League was fun.
Wow. Hey, how about this? We were talking earlier before you came on, how when you started wearing your hat backwards and Buck Showalter and a lot of people got all bent out of shape, you set the tone for like a generation. And then we were talking about Allen Iverson, tattoos, the braids. He changed the way guys, I guess maybe you can just say white America looks at black American sports with you two guys at the top of the pyramid.
I just want to wear my hat.
How did you react?
It didn't bother me. It was funny because, I didn't do it for a fashion statement. I did it because my dad had a fro and I had a little peanut head. I mean, you take a size 7.5 and you put it on a 5-year-old, what is it going to look like? So it kept hitting me in the face. So I turned it around because I just wanted to wear my dad's hat. Buck got bent out of shape. And what was funny is, the great people of Washington made up signs. So every time he went and took a picture out, they had a picture of him picking up his granddaughter or his daughter with his hat backwards.
There you go.
So,
and everybody, and I see Caps every day wearing their hat, Caps backwards. Guys coming to the park, leaving the park, fans in the stands. I mean, you and Samuel all wear with the, I wear the Kangol and turn it around in honor of you more often than not. But
it's just like for me, are you disrespecting the game because you wear your hat backwards? No. Are you disrespecting the uniform? No. Iverson, the braids, the tattoos. I mean, you got Andrew McCutcheon when he came in, he had the braids. He wanted to set the record straight that, hey, I may have a certain look, but it's not what you think. I'm a baseball player, and then, people look at their appearances and wonder, who are these people? Instead of getting a chance to know them, you already predetermine what kind of person they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough because, the 90% of the people that you meet aren't what you think they are.
Yeah. Hey, Hall of Fame. Let's touch on that. What I always get a kick out of watching the Hall of Fame ceremonies when they introduce everybody. Now you've been part of it for the last few years. You get a chill. You still get a charge out of that. I certainly do watching it. I love watching that stuff.
Right, but the back of behind the curtain is the funny part.
I'll bet. Yeah,
right. Yes, there is so much junk talking prior to that the Hall of Fame dinner, where it's just the Hall of Famers, is probably the funniest thing in the world, because you have guys, who, in their 60s and 70s and early 80s that are still talking junk, like they go out right now and throw a no hitter,
Yeah.
and they go out there
Yeah.
and get 3 or 4 hits off the, like my first one, I remember this, and Hank was there, and I sat down and he was like, "Hey, you can sit here. You got enough home runs to be at this table." Everybody else, they go over there, look, and he's just started naming, he ain't got enough room. He got no chance of sitting at this table. This is the big boy table. He over there, and Tony Perez is over there talking about, why are you sitting at the Happy Meal section? This went on. And then the following year, like Suter was there, and they were like, "Hey, we got a guy who hit 700 home runs. We had a guy who gave up 700." These guys are still talking this way
Oh my
at dinner. And I'm like this. I'm like saying not to say nothing. I'm looking around. But it's quite a show to listen to these guys. And some of the stories.
Yeah.
I like from my dad to be there because he played with those guys. And so I try to tell them that, I remember these stories, and that's not how I was told, 40 years ago. That's not, the fact, what is that? I went to school, 12 miles uphill both ways in the snow. That's how they start. That's them all day.
Yeah, I heard Brett, I think a couple years ago, was giving Cal grief. You don't you played every day, but what numbers did you put up? And Brett was breaking his chops mercilessly.
Oh yeah, they do it all the time. It is. Yes, there's a bunch of egos in there, and there's a bunch of people that are just absolutely hilarious. Teasing Ozzy because he does his little event the day before, and they, are you gonna do a backflip or a back roll? You getting older. Things like that. He's over there like, oof.
Tough room.
But you look at some of these guys' numbers and you just shake your head like,
yeah.
It doesn't matter what era you played in. These numbers are impressive.
It's sick. You knew a lot of these guys before you got in the Hall of Fame, but that first couple 3 years you go up to the dinner, was there anybody particularly you wanted to go up and say hello to or
no?
Give them some grief?
There's a couple people I want to stay away from.
Who's that?
First of all, let's start off with Bob Gibson.
God rest his soul. Yeah, man.
I told him, I said, he said, "Come here." I walked up to him, he grabbed me. I was like, and I was like, "Don't hit me." He just started laughing. He goes, "What took you so long?" I was like, there's a 5-year waiting period. He was like, "Yeah." I go, "I'm still scared of you." He goes, "I ain't picked up a ball in 10 years. I said, "I'm still scared of you." But there's certain people like you just like that. Again, they're who they are on the field is not who they are in real life.
Yeah.
He was one of them. Unbelievable. A gentle giant. But I guess when he put on that uniform,
oh man,
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Hey man, Dusty was telling us a story. Hey, Dusty talked about how his 17-game hitting streak ended because Hank told him what to do, what not to do with Gibby, and he went like over 4. That was the end of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Don't run too fast. If you hit a home run, don't look. Don't run too slow. Oh yeah. It was like me facing Nolan Ryan for the first time. My dad was like, he gonna hit you. And no, he walked me. And I stole second, I stole third. But he walked after he was like 3-1, walked up to home plate. And umpire handed him the ball and he said something that I can't repeat on air. And I just looked, and that's when the walk strikeout ratio was more important than anything. So I figured he's just gonna drill me. So I stole second, stole third. He walked over to towards third base and just stared at me. And The funny part about that is I was like, he gonna drill me the next time. And then Gene Kleins, who played with him, uh, came the next day and said, "Hey, he gave you every intimidating factor that he could, and you just didn't flinch." He said, "You're gonna be all right." But I was sitting there like, "Oh, he's gonna hit me. He's gonna hit me." But
He was known to do that. Yeah, you didn't face. Wow, you talk about him. You know, Drysdale was one of those guys too. Boy, golly.
Mhm.
Tell
But
Hank Aaron, where
that's
do you
the
want
thing
it?
is, you know, you look at it like, that's their home plate. That's how they make a living. So I tell people, "Oh, I can get a hit off a big league pitcher." I said, "No, the first one I'm gonna throw is at your dome." And they go, "Why?" "It's a ball." I go, "Yeah, but now you got to make a business decision. Do you want to get back in there? You know, and you got big league ball players buckling. So you can imagine what a guy has never seen, you know, 95 come in, what it's going to look like."
No
Like
question.
I took my friends to the batting cage one time, and it was like, "Doom," and then they start swinging. "Doom," then they start swinging. And they were like, "What is this on?" I go, "It's at 75. This is like a changeup." They're like, "What?" I go, "This is a changeup." They're like, "No." I'm like, "I could turn it up to 95 and you can see what it's like." They're like, "No, we'll just hit the changeup." And then they get jammed and they mad about it because, they're golfers and their hands hurt for like 3 or 4 days.
Unreal. Hey, video games. Would you like to see your numbers amped up in today's video games? And how would you like to see yourself portrayed in the video games that are out right now? Because I know their generation, Jared Jordy's generation, grew up on your game.
I could tell you it's come a long way uh, in video game technology, which is great to see because guys now look like themselves. That is huge because now when we didn't have that technology when we first. I mean, we played Pong growing up, and then it was the Atari 400 or 800. Then I got the Sega Genesis, and then my Nintendo, and then I signed with Nintendo, which was unbelievable. And then later on going to Sony, which Sony was, I had Sony, probably from early 90s because Sony started. I'd bring 2 TVs and my Sony PlayStation on the trip. Oh yeah, I was the originator of that. Knock down a table, put a TV up, run an extension cord to the bathroom because that's when you could, and play video games on the plane.
Oh Lord.
Love that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, they sit in the back of the plane right there in the corner, run an extension cord, had it out. Cause I ain't have a briefcase. I wasn't making no money. I wasn't doing no business stuff. Do what I normally do.
You would
Plus
play the
hotels.
video. You bring your own TV onto the plane, hook it up, boom, and play video games on long trips.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
First time I'm hearing that one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Me and Mike Jackson used to have some battles on the plane.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Hey June, we really appreciate you coming on with us.
No problem.
And I want to thank you again and your dad publicly when I had my prostate cancer situation. I remember it was a Hall of Fame announcement, New York AC. And I told you, and then you walked me over to your dad, and then your dad walked me through the whole process. You guys were great. You guys were two of the first people to really get my head straight as regarding what I was getting ready to go through and how it was going to come out. And you were right on the money. And I greatly appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And we just as Black men don't have to have that stigmatism, being able to say, "Hey, I've got this, I've got that." We've got to be able to talk about it because there's other people out there who need our help. And want to hear stories and know what they go through.
Yeah, man. No, you guys are great. Man, gotta love you, boy. I'll tell you, that was great. Hey, holler next time you're coming out to Seattle, and hopefully,
I'll probably
with
be
the
there in a couple
stretch drive
weeks.
on. All right, good. Look forward to it, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
next
it.
time I'll come up into the booth, but I had too many guys with me.
Yeah, man. You go to Chicago, don't even come by and say hello. What's up with that?
I had too many guys.
Well, what a great conversation with Ken Griffey Jr. And a reminder, like, follow, and subscribe our social channels. We have some great material for you, great content we're very proud of and very excited to share it with you. For Jared Sims and Jordan Sims, I'm Dave Sims. And we'll see you next time here on the Hey Now podcast.
Hey.